All right, guys, just going to quickly go through some of the key points here from the dynamics units. Okay, I probably won't get a chance to answer very many questions about dynamics, but I can do that on Monday. Okay, but for the dynamics unit review, okay, key points in dynamics. First thing we went over, Newton's first law. Okay, remember that Newton's first law deals with situations where the net force is zero. Okay, so there's no net force in any Newton's first law question. That also means there's not really a lot of problem solving to do with Newton's first law. It's the behavior of an object when it is not accelerating because there's no net force. All right, that can be applicable to some Newton's second law questions. Right, if it says, the object's being pulled up a hill at a constant velocity, well, then that means all the forces involved add up to zero. Okay, so it's important to know that, okay, and understand that that's kind of Newton's first law. The only questions to do with Newton's first law will be multiple choice questions. So there'll be situational problems, okay, to do with when the net force is zero, to do with inertia, okay, and things like that. So like stuff like what was on the West Ed assignment about the bumper cars. A lot of those were inertia and Newton's first law kind of questions. Okay, then we talked about Newton's second law, and we spent probably half of the unit on Newton's second law. All right, F net equals m times a, and it equals the vector sum of all forces. This would be a very easy topic for me to combine vector addition into. Okay, on your unit exam, you had a question, was it about, it was about making a snowman, right? They're pushing the snowballs, and there's one snowball, but two people were pushing it different directions. Okay, it could be something like that. Okay, where I've got a force that's going this way, and then I've got another force that's going this way, and what's my net force? Well, then I have to find x's and y's and all of that kind of stuff and find the net force through vector component addition. It'd be very easy to do that and combine those two topics into one question. Right? We dealt with a lot of other situations to do with Newton's second law. Okay, my favorite situation to do with Newton's second law has to do with those things, okay, with inclined planes. So maybe there might be one. Okay, yeah, on the final exam. So make sure that you've gone over many of the different situations that we have done. There is more than one. There are more than one problems. There is more than one problem. Okay, on the final exam to do with Newton's second law. Okay, so it's one of the few concepts that has more than one problem in the written response section. Not very many do. Newton's second law does. Okay. After Newton's second law, and again, like we dealt with so many different situations, so a good way to review Newton's second law, well, two good ways. Look at the worksheets I gave you because they have the answers on them, and you probably have your solution on paper somewhere. Okay, look at those. Right, do a couple, pick a few at random. You don't have to do the whole worksheet over again or anything like that, but you have lots of Newton's second law problems you can try. The second thing would be to look at your quizzes. Okay, go into Power School, look at the quizzes. If there's one you didn't do well on or you just want to pick one, okay, click on it in Power School. Remember, when it comes up, there'll be a link that takes you to the two questions, okay, to the problems. That's the same PDF file that I put on Power School, or that I put on Google Classroom, sorry. And then the second link will say podcast of that quiz. And if you click on that, it'll take you to the YouTube video where I walk through the solution, where we are essentially marking it, okay, and I go through the solution. So that's a good way to try a few extra problems and know whether you've done them right and be able to watch the solution as well. Okay, so those are good ways to kind of prepare for that part. Okay, after that, we did work energy theorem. Okay, and that's where we had that work is a change in mechanical energy. right? So we're still dealing with similar situations to Newton's second law. We dealt with inclined planes. And what happens when you push a box up a ramp in terms of energy instead of forces. Okay, and we said, yeah, work can be calculated by using force times distance, but it's also the final mechanical energy minus the initial mechanical energy. How much energy did the object have at the bottom of the ramp versus the top of the ramp? Kinetic and potential added together. Okay, so when this expanded all the way out, it might look like this. Okay, looks a little bit like a law of conservation of energy question, except that in a law of conservation of energy question, if I did this operation where I went final minus initial, my answer would be 0, right? In a law of conservation of energy question, EI equals EF. In a work energy theorem question, I'm changing the amount of energy that goes on. That's why we say force times distance equals the change in mechanical energy, right? Energy is not conserved, it's being changed. Either the system is doing work on something and energy is going somewhere else, or work is being done on the system and energy is being gained. There'll be more energy, okay, at the end than there was at the beginning. All right, expect that there will be at least one problem in the written response to do with work energy theorem and a few multiple choice questions about work energy theorem as well. Okay, and then we had conservation of energy. Okay, conservation of mechanical energy, so those are the EI equals EF questions, right? There's definitely one of those on there, but remember, we talked about this concept in 2 units. We talked about it in the dynamics unit, and we talked about it in the simple harmonic motion unit. So you could have a problem that's from unit 2, or you could have a problem that's from unit 4, right? The law of conservation of energy concept is definitely on the test, though, because it was in 2 units. Okay. All right, and sorry, I skipped over Newton's third law. There's no problem solving to do with Newton's third law. Okay, it's only in the multiple choice, but you still need to know that every action has an equal and opposite reaction and kind of what that means from a situational perspective. We also talked about power one day. We spent 1 day on power. Okay, remember that power is how fast work gets done. Right? Basically, you just need to understand how it works. There are no calculations to do with it. It's just a multiple choice question about what power is, just like what was on your unit exam. All right, so that's the stuff that will be in or on the final exam, okay, to do with dynamics. There are more problems on dynamics than there are on any other unit. That's because any overlap questions, all the overlap questions have to do with dynamics. So if there's a question that has overlap, it's overlap with dynamics. Okay, Newton's second law is the basis for most of this course. Okay, so if there's overlap, that's where it is. Okay, so yeah, we talked about, good ideas for studying for this unit would be practice stuff from your Newton second law worksheets, go over your quizzes. Go over your quizzes is a good suggestion for any of the units. And then come in and ask questions if you've got them. Okay, remember that the 20th and the 21st are the days that I'll be in here all day. Okay, just send me an email, let me know you're coming, and I'll make sure I'm in here when you come in. Other reminders here, okay, today's June 15th, so that's the deadline for any overdue assignments, right? If there's still something that you haven't handed in and you want to get something for it, okay, submit it today before the end of the day. Okay, it has to be in by 12:20. Right? I'm finalizing my in-course grades today. What do you need to bring to your final exam? Calculator, pencils, fresh batteries in the calculator. Okay, and remember, if you're bringing like water or drink or something like that, make sure it's in a resealable bottle. Okay, and any snacks are not going to annoy those around you. Okay, that they are good choices. Okay, a couple of other things here, guys. Things that people overlook the value of in terms of exams. Okay, and the most commonly neglected thing that's important for exam preparation is a good night's sleep. Okay, pulling an all-nighter is one of the worst things that you can do in terms of studying. Right? When you pull an all-nighter, you are trying to cram as much information into your poor little brain as possible in a short period of time. Where does your brain put stuff if you're cramming it in there as fast as you can? What type of memory? You have two types, short-term and long-term. Where do you suppose it goes? It goes into your short-term memory. Your short-term memory may last a few minutes. Okay, so it seems like while you're cramming, you read something, you're like, okay, yeah, okay, I got that, good, and you remember it for like 3 minutes. You go back, oh yeah, I still remember that, good, and then you forget it. Okay, so you show up for the exam and you look at the exam and you have that sensation where, oh crap, I don't remember anything. It's because you crammed. Okay, don't cram. That's not going to help you. Right? You need to study long term. Right? Just the night before till 3 a.m. is not going to help you. When your brain is tired, it doesn't commit things to memory properly. Okay? It corrupts some of that information and just loses most of it. So do yourself a favor and get a good night's sleep. Second thing, get a good breakfast. Okay, black coffee and cigarettes is not a good breakfast. Okay, so make sure you have something better than that before you come in the morning. Okay, have something healthy. There's something from every food group. Okay, like you get a good start with the blood sugar by having some fruit. Okay, or have orange juice or something like that. Okay, that gets the sugar in the blood right away and makes you feel energized. Okay, but it's the carbs and the proteins that keep you going throughout the test. So make sure you have some of each. Okay, a good hearty breakfast is important before a test. Okay, and be well hydrated. Okay, anyone ever got heat stroke before? Okay, you get that because you're dehydrated. How does your brain feel? You probably don't even remember, right? Like your brain, like if you're dehydrated, your brain doesn't function properly. Make sure you're properly hydrated. Okay, and for the love of Pete, go to the bathroom before the test because you'll be properly hydrated. You won't need to go. So go to the bathroom before the test. Otherwise, you have to be escorted out, and yeah, it's just awkward. So make sure you do those three things: good night's sleep, good breakfast, be well hydrated. You would be surprised how big a difference that makes. Okay. Exam taking strategy. I think I've told you guys this one before, right? But when you come into the exam and you're allowed to open it up, okay, so right at 9 o'clock or whatever, okay, read through it first. Okay, don't just start on it. Read through it first. Okay, pick some questions that you can do right away. Right, ones you're like, oh yeah, I totally studied that one. I totally remember how to do a law of conservation of energy question. Do it right away. Okay, if you know how to do it, then that's great. You get it done, you feel good about yourself, so your confidence goes up, okay, and you approach the more difficult questions with more confidence, right? If you are looking at the first question on the test and you're looking at it and you go, oh crap, I don't know how to do this, okay, then that's how you're going to approach the rest of the test. Okay, you'll start out in the hole because you'll look at that question and not accomplish anything and waste 10 minutes. Okay, move on to something you know how to do. Lots of times doing questions you know how to do triggers your memory for how to do the question you thought you couldn't remember how. Right? So do the questions you're confident in first. Nobody says you have to do the test in order. Okay? So make sure you do it in some semblance of order that helps you to be successful. Okay? Everybody with me there? All right, and I say that from experience because I had to do that with my organic chem exam in university. 30 questions. First time through, I knew how to do 4 of them. I did those 4, and then I was able to do about 4 more the second time through the test. I think by the time the test was over, I had something written down for about 14 of them. Yeah, I wasn't alone though. A lot of people failed that test. It's a good thing the course was on the curve. 37 on the test. Got a 5 out of 9 in the course. So as long as it's on the curve and you're smarter than more than half the people, you do okay. I don't reckon we're not doing this one on the curve. Okay, you got to legit pass this one. All right, have a good weekend. Study hard, guys.